Good evening, I'm Pritha Manivannan and thanks for joining me this Wednesday on 7Edition. These are your headlines. Prime Minister mulls cabinet reshuffle after Tanjung Piai defeats. Police seek foreign expert opinion on sex video implicating cabinet minister. And anger in China as US Senate passes a bill protecting protesters' rights. We'll begin with this update. Kelantan Police announced today a drug bust that saw the seizure of 3.7 million ringgit worth of shabu and yaba pills. They launched an operation on Sunday following a tip-off from the public, which led the Narcotics Division team to the arrest of a couple in Pasir Mas. The seizure involved about 39 kilograms of shabu and 20 kilograms of yaba pills, which comes to about 186,000 pills. The arrested couple then led the police to a hotel room in Kota Baru, where officers had to break open the door before arresting a 42-year-old man hiding in the bathroom. Checks on the man's car found 4 zipped bags and a package containing crystal-like substance and pills, also believed to be shabu and yaba pills. Following the arrests, police seized 6 luxury vehicles, watches of various brands, bags, cash, handsets, jewellery, land titles and account books worth almost 541,000 ringgit. The 2 men arrested tested positive for methamphetamine, while the result for the female suspect came back negative. All 3 suspects are now in remand for a week and are facing the death penalty if convicted.
Meanwhile, across the border, Indonesia's National Narcotics Board, BNN, has foiled 3 attempts to smuggle drugs into the country by a syndicate from Malaysia. This led to the arrest of 10 individuals, believed to be linked to the syndicate.
Jalur masuknya itu bukan hanya melalui barat saja, tapi juga melalui tengah, lewat Tawau, Tarakan di sana. Modus masuknya itu daerah bukan hanya di Tawau, tapi juga di wilayah-wilayah barat itu menggunakan speed.
He added that nearly 75 kilograms of shabu seized from the suspected drug traffickers were also destroyed by the agency. Some 42 kilograms of the drugs were seized while en route to Samarinda from Tawau via a speedboat and a car. Another 6.3 kilograms of drugs from Malaysia were seized in Medan, while another 25 kilograms were seized in PD Aceh. Indonesian authorities also have increased patrols in the Republic's waters, including along the borders of Kalimantan, to curb the drug smuggling activities.
Police have sought assistance from a digital forensics expert at a university in the US to help analyze the sex video that had implicated a cabinet minister. The analysis report on the findings will be obtained soon.
Bukit Aman CID Director Dr. Huzir Muhammad said a team of police investigators had been dispatched to the university to hand over the video to the expert. However, he did not reveal any details other than the analysis report will be received by the authorities before end of the year.
Kita telah mengenal pasti dan kita telah melantik pakar daripada luar negara tersebut untuk membuat analisa tentang ketulinan video tersebut dan juga proses pengancaman wajah bagi mengenal pasti individu yang terlibat.
He added, once they have received the report, the evidence will be presented to the Attorney General Chambers for further action. In June, former PKR Santubong Youth Chief Haziq Abdullah Abdul Aziz confessed to being one of the 2 men in the controversial video.
On to the updates of the One Malaysia Development Berhad audit tampering trial. The Kuala Lumpur High Court was told today that dozens of draft copies of the final audit report from the National Audit Department were destroyed. Now, Datuk Sri Najib Razak was among 7 people who received a copy. This was revealed by the National Audit Department Director Nur Salwani Muhammad, the 5th witness to testify in the trial.
Salwani said she had printed out 60 copies of the final draft, 6 of which she handed to Datuk Sri Najib, the former Premier's Chief Private Secretary Tan Sri Shukri Mohamad Saleh, Tan Sri Ali Hamza, Datuk Zulkifli Ahmad from the Attorney General's Chambers, and former 1MDB CEO Arukanda Kandasamy. Yesterday, former Chief Secretary to the government Tan Sri Ali Hamza told the High Court that on receiving the draft on February 22, 2016, Datuk Sri Najib immediately summoned him and then Auditor General Tan Sri Amrin Buang to a meeting, during which the Pekan MP expressed his dissatisfaction with the report. A meeting was then held 2 days later, the first of a series of other meetings that resulted in changes to the AG's 1MDB report that was later presented to PAC. As a result of that meeting, 4 main items were removed from the Auditor General's audit report on 1MDB, including an incident where Datuk Sri Najib failed to inform the Cabinet over the agreement with the Yang di-Pertuan Agong to delay a 5 billion ringgit fund-raising exercise. Also revealed was a voice recording of the meeting allegedly over changes to the audit report. The entire audio clip, lasting 2 hours and 40 minutes, showed how national interest and the protection of Datuk Sri Najib's reputation were used to justify such changes.
The Dewan Rakyat was off to a false start this morning when only 24 MPs were in the August House. The sitting scheduled to begin at 10 a.m. was delayed. But this wasn't the first time the Dewan Rakyat did not have enough quorum to proceed.
The day started with the customary ringing of the bell at 10 a.m. as a signal for MPs to enter the House, followed by prayer. The motion for lack of quorum was raised by Lepis MP Barisan Nasional's Abdul Rahman Muhammad when Speaker Tan Sri Muhammad Arif Muhammad Yusof counted the number of MPs present, finding only 24 in the hall. According to Dewan Rakyat meeting standing order, the quorum for council and committee meetings must be 26 MPs, not including the chairman. Tan Sri Muhammad Arif then directed the Sergeant-at-Arms to ring the bell again, which went on for almost 3 minutes until 4 more MPs entered the hall.
Tensions flared and unpleasant words were exchanged at the Parliament's lobby today when 2 UMNO members of Parliament got themselves into a heated argument. The commotion was heard at about 1 p.m. when a group of reporters were interviewing another lawmaker at the lobby. Kuala Krau MP Datuk Sri Ismail Muhammad Syed and Pasir Salah MP Datuk Sri Tajuddin Abdul Rahman, as they were walking out of the Dewan Rakyat, were seen and heard challenging each other in a high-handed manner with offensive words thrown in. The duo were heard shouting words such as stupid and imbecile at each other.
So stupid lah. So stupid. Nantilah saya jumpa you. Ini ada pengawan nanti ya. You hantar gambar. Dia gambar kena apa kena. You hantar gambar.
The 2 men also taunted each other and were seemingly ready to engage in a brawl before security personnel as well as other MPs separated them. Datuk Sri Ismail was later calmed down by Ketirih MP Tan Sri Anwar Musa at the dining lounge. Before leaving, Datuk Sri Ismail explained to reporters that he was dissatisfied over a photo of his friends visiting his sick daughter, which he claimed was made viral by Datuk Sri Tajuddin. The Pasir Salah MP later informed the media that the spat was just a misunderstanding between friends and that the issue has been resolved. The Entrepreneur Development Minister emphasized today that what Malaysia's aerial mobility vehicle project is called is not important, as long as the government can help make the industry successful. A day before its test flight, Datuk Sri Muhammad Ridzuan Yusof said the project is to ensure that the air mobility, aviation and aerospace industry receives the encouragement it needs in order to grow.
Drones are flying dummy, unmanned. They call you UAV. When it becomes shaped like a plane, they call it UAV. When it says an object flying, they call it drone. When you do that, when you sit down in there, can you call it a drone? It's up to you to perceive it.
So was he wrong?
It's a narrative that has to be accepted by whoever wants to perceive that it is a drone flying car. To me, it doesn't matter. More importantly, is the air mobility.
The minister was responding to Transport Minister Anthony Loke's statement last night when he called Datuk Sri Muhammad Ridzuan's flying car a drone. Besides that, Datuk Sri Muhammad Ridzuan will be attending tomorrow's test flight and has extended an invitation to his fellow lawmakers. Currently, there are 4 initiatives for the flying vehicle in the country. Meanwhile, the Housing and Local Government Ministry said 15 projects to build affordable housing by the private sector under the My Home scheme has been launched so far. Its Minister Zuraida Kamaruddin also told the Dewan Rakyat today the tender for the projects that involves government land will be opened as early as next month.
Ketika ini with the drive dengan pelaksanaan rumah mampu 1 juta yang telah kita janjikan dalam manifesto kita yang sudah memerlukan untuk membina 100,000 satu tahun, pihak-pihak swasta sekarang banyak menumpukan kepada pembinaan rumah mampu milik ini kerana mereka dapati bahawa dengan IBS sistem dan sebagainya sistem ini ataupun package ini lebih menarik ketika ini memandangkan ada keperluan untuk membina rumah mampu milik ini.
The My Home scheme was introduced by the government to encourage the private sector to build more affordable houses in line with the government's aim to help the urban poor to own their first home. The scheme provides a 30,000 ringgit incentive for each affordable house sold by qualified private sector developers. Let's take a short breather, and when we return, 2 teenagers cheat death in viral car crash. Stay with us for the details. Welcome back. Now on to our headline story. A cabinet reshuffle is on the cards after an evaluation of the performance of existing ministers. The Prime Minister said this was one of the matters raised by Parti Pribumi Bersatu Malaysia following Pakatan Harapan's massive defeat in the Tanjung Piai by-election. Tun Dr. Mahathir announced this today at a media conference after chairing the party's Supreme Council meeting in Selangor. When asked if he would remain in the reshuffled cabinet, this is what he had to say.
The thing is that you have a chain midstream. It's a very confusing thing. It creates a lot of problems. But of course, if I'm sick, I don't know. But I think I need to be serious about this thing. What happens to me is not something important. But what happens to the government, to the country is very important. No, well, it may be before the effect, but I don't want too many changes to take place because kita kena make the necessary preparation. Because this is a big meeting involving many countries which are world powers even. So we have to be very careful about this.
Dr. Mahathir also cited communication issues within Pakatan Harapan as one of the factors for the coalition to have lost the Tanjung Piai seat. He said information on the government's achievements in the past 18 months had not been well channeled to the people on the ground. Police detained 41 football supporters, including 14 Indonesians, following the commotion after the pre-World Cup match between Malaysia and Indonesia at Bukit Jalil State National Stadium last night. Cheras Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Muhammad Muhsin Muhammad Zon said all the individuals were released after the documentation process. Last night, there was some commotion shortly after the game ended when supporters of both sides provoked each other outside the stadium. Supporters from both sides also threw bottles and road safety cones at each other and burning firecrackers. The tense situation was brought under control by the Federal Reserve team. Indonesian supporters then left the stadium in stages under police surveillance. We'll have more on the match later. Malaysia is losing its last Sumatran rhinoceros as the prognosis of its cancer-stricken Iman is now poor. The 25-year-old female rhino is currently under the care of the team of caregivers led by Dr. Zainal Zahari Zainuddin at Tabin Wildlife Reserve in Lahad Datu, Sabah. And the State Deputy Chief Minister, Dato' Christina Liu, said that Iman's condition is deteriorating on top of losing weight and her appetite. She added that Iman's tumour has been with her when she was captured in March 2014, and although the cancer is not malignant, it has spread to her urinary bladder. The vets said there is no way to halt the growth of the tumours, and surgery to remove them could result in her quick demise. Dato' Liu said the state government would expedite the legality process with Indonesian counterparts for the in vitro fertilization. She added that the process will involve harvesting of an ovum from Iman to be fertilized with an Indonesian rhino's sperm. On to some foreign updates. China's foreign ministry on Wednesday condemned the US and accused it of interference after the Senate unanimously passed a bill supporting Hong Kong protesters. The democracy bill, aimed at protecting human rights in the autonomous region, is seen as a boost for protesters but a challenge for Beijing. The Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act will go to the House of Representatives before it will head to the White House for President Donald Trump to review. The bill lays out a process for the president to impose sanctions and travel restrictions on those who are found to be knowingly responsible for threatened or carried out arbitrary detention, torture, forced confession of any individual in Hong Kong or other violations of internationally recognized human rights in the former British colony. Under the bill, the president can also impose sanctions on those who violate the 1997 Sino-British Joint Declaration, the agreement which Britain handed Hong Kong back to China. There was no immediate response from the White House, which has yet to say whether Trump would sign or veto the bill. In response, China reiterated a threat to impose unspecific retaliation if the bill became law and strongly urged the US to stop meddling in Hong Kong affairs. Now, in the meantime, 1,000 more protesters have been detained at Hong Kong Polytechnic University, the site of one of the most prolonged and tense confrontations since demonstrations began almost 6 months ago. The protesters were detained after they failed to flee from police following a 3-day standoff. About a dozen protesters still remain holed up inside a sewage pipe where they take refuge in the campus. China Communications and Construction Group CCCG and WCT Holdings Berhad are slated to jointly launch the first residential project at the Tun Razak Exchange TRX with a gross development value GDV of 1.4 billion ringgit. Core residence at TRX is a high-end freehold property developed on a 0.67 hectare land in the Kuala Lumpur International Financial District. The joint venture company, Core Precious Development Sdn Bhd, said in a statement on Wednesday that the development features 3 blocks of service residences and is scheduled to be completed early 2024. Core Precious, which is 80% owned by CCCG and 20% by WCT, will hold a launch ceremony at Menara Kuan Chu on November 25th. TRX is an integrated 28.33 hectare development that will be KL's new Central Business District, CBD, and Malaysia's International Financial District. The master developer, TRX City Sdn Bhd, is wholly owned by the Ministry of Finance. Chinese e-commerce giant Alibaba will raise up to $12.9 billion in its Hong Kong secondary listing, pricing its shares at 2.8% discount to their last closing price in New York. The deal is the largest share sale in Hong Kong in 9 years and a world record cross-border secondary share sale. According to a report from Reuters, quoting two sources with direct knowledge on the matter, the company has given guidance to prospective institutional investors that its shares will be priced at 176 Hong Kong dollars each. The deal will raise $11.3 billion before a so-called greenshoe over allotment option is exercised, which could take the total of $12.9 billion. The move will also be seen as a boost to Hong Kong following more than 5 months of anti-government protests and its recent slide into its first recession in a decade. The price for the retail component of the deal will be finalized in the city on Wednesday. Weak market sentiment on the back of bleak prospects of a US-China trade deal has dragged Bursa Malaysia to close lower today, with the key index retreating from its two-day winning streak. The benchmark FBM KLCI lost 4.17 points to finish at 1,601.14 from yesterday's close. Now on to stocks to watch. Hapsing Industries' 9 months financial year 2019 core profit came in slightly below expectations at only 70% of consensus estimates. This came largely from lower than expected margins. Its 9 months revenue was almost flat year-on-year due to flattish sales in both the domestic and export markets. Next. Petronas Gas Berhad's third quarter financial year 2019 earnings dipped by 13.6% year-on-year to 431.6 million ringgit, attributable to lower revenue from gas processing and utilities segment. A statutory turnaround at Kerteh's air separation unit also dragged the utilities segment's performance. And last but not least, Sunway Construction Group Berhad reported a lower revenue in the third quarter of 2019 at 402.5 million ringgit. Construction, which contributed 89.1% of the revenue in the quarter, posted a decline of 30.3% year-on-year. However, contribution from the precast in the quarter was 13% higher year-on-year at 37.5 million ringgit. We're back with Clickbait, where we take a look at what's trending and making the rounds in the cyber world today. Now, whether you're a driver or a passenger, you should always buckle up on the road, because you'll never know. However, these two teenage boys surely cheated death as they were flung out of their car after getting hit by another car, which could have been a fatal and tragic accident. But the heart-stopping footage of the crash in Georgetown, Penang went viral on Facebook since its upload on Sunday, raking in over 26,000 views. Here's what happened. It was a fine sunny afternoon at the North-South Expressway, until a red Proton Waja, which appeared on the right lane, started losing control and slammed into the rear of the car the boys were in, sending them flying out of their vehicle to the road shoulder, as both cars came to a complete stop after crashing into the guardrail. Fortunately, the boys aged 11 and 13 were not hurt at all, but were left shocked after the incident. The driver of the Proton Waja, a 34-year-old Chinese national, however, suffered severe injuries to her neck and legs, while her twin sons, who were also in the vehicle with her, escaped unhurt. Many netizens theorized that the boys did not put on their seatbelts and made this incident as an example of why buckling up on the road is a must. The 12:30 p.m. incident occurred when the boys were in the back seat of the black Proton Saga with their mother and 21-year-old sister heading towards Nibong Tebal. Immediate summons had been issued to the Waja driver, who is being investigated for reckless driving under the Road Transport Act. Now updated as of 7 p.m, here are the top trending topics and searches on the internet today. I'm Pritha Manivannan. Thanks for watching and have a cat-tastic week.